All right, so Sylvanas, of course, she has got a new look.
Where did she get it from?
Cool. I think this is like a bit of a recolor of some of her Legion.
I think some of it is similar. I think it's recolor.
No, it's not
It's just
because
sort of
there's
similar
like some
design.
midriff there, and the Legion one was like completely the brown.
Yeah.
I think armor.
Yeah, this is very different. I think it's thematically, I think they're trying to draw together her as a complete being now, where she's honoring her heritage. You see the tints of blue and stuff like that, and then you go and you see it's kind of gray, not brown, like she's not, evil murderous Sylvanas anymore, but she's not.
Her eyes
just
are
back to
blue.
normal. Yeah, eyes
Eyes
are
are blue.
That means she's good, apparently.
Eyes are
But
blue.
she's-
She's
yeah.
got that back. We like this tweet as well. Just I really wish to actually like explain where she got this armor from, why she's wearing it, what it means to her. This is stuff that's important for characters, and this is why I thought this was a real quality tweet.
Yeah.
Good one, Porter Gage. Good tweet. They did this with Thrall too. No one of actually putting the new armor on and what it means to them, just suddenly appearing with an unknown explanation. And it's the sort of thing, as much as, maybe in a big clap back to movies and money in Hollywood, we're going to be like, oh, superhero movies, or they come out of the factory farm. But one of the things in a superhero movie that's quite important is when they get their suit.
That's such a huge part
It's
of
an
the
important thing in the
character
superhero
they play.
movie, and usually it means something to people.
Yeah.
So if you're going to take new Spider-Boy,
Yep.
his first suit, his little hoodie, that means something to him as a character. And I know a lot of people, they don't like his big tech bro suit, but that has a lot of meaning to that character because. I think like Tony Stark is a bit of not a father figure, but maybe a father figure. I forget exactly.
Sort of mixture of father figure and general inspiration.
Sort of mentor inspiration.
Yeah.
So like all that means something to him.
Yeah, and they play with that very much in terms of like how the actual plot of that movie unfolds. Is are you ready for the suit? Because the suit carries responsibility because of the costume.
Actually,
all that stuff.
Thank you for putting a message and reminding me there, Terrible, in chat. Tataru. The best Scion.
Fuck me, I can't even say.
Where would they be? I mean, Alphino and Estinian would have bankrupted the Scions. And I mean, all these people anyone who goes near them and gets access to the company account.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they're all these rich twats. You're like, how much is a glass of milk there, Alphino? And he'll say back, 3 million gil. We're like, what?
Yep.
Are you a wee rich boy?
Yeah, no, a bit.
But Tataru's there as the
the thrifty one.
The thrifty one, the smart one.
Yeah, the
most seasoned drinker.
The mercantile genius.
But one of the nice things is any time that a character in FF14 gets a new costume, not any time, but most times, a lot of the time, Tataru has actually made it for them.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like her involvement in that is actually like her own personal character arc as well, which is really fucking nice to see. And even then, they've got lore about where people's armors originally came from and stuff like that is really, really nice. And it's such an important part. Like you see someone and they're wearing new threads, and you're like, oh, you've very, very, very clearly outlined that this is a pivotal moment of character development. Is that cheesy? Yes. Am I sitting in the dark at 3 a.m. going, fuck yeah, let's go? Yes.
Yeah.
Also that.
So here's the deal with this. Sylvanas and Illyria probably not going to talk for a while.
No.
The one sister who you could maybe make an inroad with is Verisa.
Yeah.
So what happens if, Sylvanas has this armor and Verisa and Sylvanas, have dialogue with each other, in-depth dialogue, and Verisa is really struggling to overcome, but Verisa knows, in the same way we've discussed the moral culpability, Verisa knows that while Sylvanas has done terrible things, she's also been a victim.
Yeah.
And in order to help Sylvanas, maybe Verisa is like, well, here's an old bit of armor from home. Here's your mother's bow, or maybe is it their brother, the brother that the Windrunners had. Yeah. Maybe he had a bit of jewelry or a keepsake, or maybe something that would visually tie into Sylvanas' armor. And Verisa is struggling, but is in this scene, maybe it's a bit of a teary scene. Perhaps Verisa, hands that over, and that's a moment. And it's a sort of thing. Players are going to struggle with Sylvanas because of all of this, But if they actually get to experience that story, we're via a character like Verisa, then you're going to start having the character moments in the work. And then you're going to have this, mild change of the Sylvanas model, in actuality be a story beat. And obviously, if this was to happen to a character like Thrall, I'd maybe care a bit more because, frankly, I am burnt out on Sylvanas, like many of you are. But I am saying, if you are going to do something like this, probably is better to do it via character.
Yeah, it is you can do it this way and have it all implied. But, if you want to lampshade it later on, maybe do it as a lampshade it as a, like I say, don't talk about it now, talk about it later when she's back, or if she comes back. But it's such an opportunity. It is such an incredible opportunity for, hey, make this armor mean something to people. Mm-hmm. Because as it stands, it's just, I guess you gave someone a new model. Cool. Yeah. Cool to make her look different from where she was. But then you make it really obviously very important. And then people will care.
That's how you do it. Yep. That's how you do it. So anyway, that's something we noticed. But there you go, new Sylvanas model. Now moving on, there are some new voice lines for Sylvanas. These are just individual lines. We don't really know the context, so it's very important to say.
Yeah.
We don't know the context, and context matters. I mean, even all the little things of execution matter. Even think of the Hitchcock thing where, the man walks from left of frame to right of frame, then from right of frame to left of frame, and it completely changes how somebody reads the scene. That's like how much the small details matter. So, to be fair to them. Now, what does she say? Not a Banshee Queen, not a Ranger General, but always a Windrunner.
Yeah, so she's become who she is, but she's both.
Yes.
Or neither, I guess.
I've found you before, my love. I will find you again, no matter how long it takes.
If that's about Nathanos, I will sigh my lungs out of my chest. For a variety of reasons.
Yeah, I can certainly think of one of those reasons, and as I look at you, I know what you're thinking, and I'm thinking the exact same thing. It's a little bit meta. Yeah. And it's definitely not the sort of thing we can talk about in the stream.
No, absolutely not. But it's more the idea that, I guess, again, okay, they suppose they did a little bit, but it's been so drip and drab over time that they've been exploring that as a relationship. It hasn't seemed important to her at all. Like,
pretty abusive at times.
Since when did he get his new body?
Was that pre-Legion?
Was it pre-Legion?
You know what? I forget. It's in a short story anyway. Is it? Is it the Dark Mirror short story?
I think it might be. But it's like that. It's like it hasn't mattered since then. So why are we going to care if you haven't told us about any of this realistically, or expecting us to remember something from 100 years ago when you've had the opportunity to explore it this time? Feels a little bit just wrap up like, shit, we forgot this. Fuck sliding. Something like that, I guess.
Yeah. Colin, look, man, I do think that this is constructive. I mean, look, the criticisms here are very real. But, when I talk about this, I'm not saying have a scene that explains this change of armor. I'm not saying that as an insult. I'm saying that as I do believe that this is how you could actually get, you could mine some emotional depth out of it if this came along with a scene between her and her sister. People would really care about. In the same way, many people, I think, were correctly saying in Legion that we should have seen more interaction between, obviously, Illidan, Tyrande, and Malfurion, because their whole lives are so connected, and indeed so connected to the Warcraft universe.
Yeah, I think a lot of this is looking how other properties across the entire history of media has done things that has been more satisfying. And because obviously you can say, well, you talk about like objective storytelling techniques and stuff like that, but if you think about it even as a mixture of your own history over things you've watched or read or played, you think about them, well, wouldn't it be really nice if World of Warcraft did this as well? I think that's... Obviously, you can go, well, they don't have time. Still, it's kind of up to them to have time to do the nice things and the possible things. So I think it's all very constructive. I mean, there's so many things I could say that aren't constructive in the least, so I don't say them, because what's the point?
Yeah.
It's I don't know how widespread this saying is, but if you don't have anything nice to say nothing at all. Generally, how I tend to operate, like, well, in public at least, but yeah. Yeah,
like we always do try to offer another solution or something like that. other lines then. I will never serve. I mean, look, that could literally. Fair play, Colin. Absolutely. Yeah, look, the more we can be constructive and try to publicly think about these problems, I think the better. That's a lot of the angle I try to take with the Sylvanas one in our main video. Because our main video, I don't really spend that much time being like, well, I took the decision to move more into the how do we analyze this from a moral standpoint more than kind of like the criticism stuff. But I suppose we got a little bit more into just some aspects of the visual storytelling today. But for other things he said, I will never surf. I mean, look, that could just be a flashback or something. So, she obviously
I mean,
said that.
a lot of this does come across to me like it is click dialogue.
Yeah.
Clicker says this is,
Yes, we live in prisons of our own making. I will face whatever comes. And, that's very true. There's times, I'm kind of like, fucking hell, I've really overscheduled myself. I'm in a prison of my own making. But of course, this one is also, riffing a bit on the line, Azeroth is a prison, I will set us all free. Yeah. So, she's realized this prison's kind of my own making. I mean, sort of it's of her own trauma and abuse in a way because of, she didn't make her situation. It was thrust upon her. Yeah,
well, I think one of the things I think an awful lot is people always have, relatively speaking, a choice. Mm-hmm. Unless domination magic's involved. So her at least understanding that she, is in a prison of her own making is like, okay, at least you understand your own culpability in this. And everyone's the same. I suppose it could be speaking to a wider theme of how we all need to expand our horizons and stuff, but I don't know about that.
The cycle must be broken. We are more than slaves to our torments. So this is like kind of interesting.
She's talking about Torghast.
But she's still saying the cycle must be broken.
Yeah, which is, I guess, one of the things that it bugs me because we still don't know what fucking cycle she's talking about. The only thing we can kind of hint at after knowing about the Crown of Wills and stuff like that there is this weird idea of maybe there's something going on that we haven't felt. In which case, if we haven't felt it, why are we solving it? Please explain.
I mean, I would certainly say with that, like, the whole anima thing is like a bit uncomfortable. You think about how the first one set all of this up, and you actually have these constant beings that basically just exist to gather a resource for that then to be put to use. So, I look at that and I kind of think like, all right, so Val's a real dickhead, but there's probably a nugget of truth at the bottom of it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's... and this is why I didn't like the fact that they went down the whole anima death, you become fertilizer and Ardenweald stuff to begin with, because it's... I guess it's such an immensely difficult topic to talk about and cover all of its depth, because you start to think about, the cycle must be broken. Are you talking about the cycle of life and death? Does that mean we all have eternal life? Do we all have immortality? Well, that's a fucking can of worms and a half. Because, what's life if, you're immortal? The idea is if you ever start to ask questions and break the fabric behind what is life, if you don't have a satisfying answer, and that's a satisfying answer to get to, as soon as you think, well, okay, so as long as Zoval isn't, or as long as anyone isn't coming to our lives and ending them prematurely, cutting potential down in order to satisfy the needs of Shadowlands, you go, well, if that's the natural cycle, so be it. It's what we kind of do. We have medicine to prolong lives, but we can't become immortal yet.
But
everyone's relatively happy with where we are.
Could it be like us farming chickens? There's some people who are going to say, all right, well, if that's in a battery farm, that's really bad.
Yeah.
There's other people, like say vegetarians, vegans, who will say, okay, well, a free-range chicken, frankly, isn't good enough because it's being bred for slaughter.
Yeah.
In which case, instead of tendies, it's anima. That's the output of this system.
Yeah, I guess that's a thing where, do I trust this story to have the time to go into all of that stuff? I can't imagine it, and they haven't explained what the cycle is, so I'm thinking generally worst case, because I think I know what they're trying to say with, or what I would expect any story talking about life and death to traditionally be saying. And in this case, it's not really covered that all that well, so I'm pretty disappointed with this, unless they find a very nice way to go, and the cycle was actually this. But I don't know what that is. Who knows?
It's going to take a hell of a lot of an M. Night twist for...
I mean, it's like you... you always talk about J.J. Abrams' mystery box.
Big JJ.
I feel like this is a Matryoshka doll of mystery boxes, where we open a mystery box, find another mystery box, and then the mystery box gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until you're sitting there with a magnifying glass, like a jeweler's magnifying glass, and a pair of tweezers trying to open the last mystery box. Like, is there fucking something of value here, please?
You're falling into one of those fractal zoom videos on YouTube. Never to reach the bottom. There's some character development for Sylvanas in the next bit of this line, though. We are more than the slaves to our torments. Of course, one of our older lines was, we're slaves to our torments. So this is kind of showing a Sylvanas that is willing to rise above her own personal suffering and trauma, which I think means that this is probably a more forward-looking and constructive Sylvanas. And then farewell, the true battle lies ahead. Now, of course, a part of being forward-looking and constructive, remember, you can have a character face punishment for their crimes and be, to a degree, a bit redeemed. Because facing your dues with honor is still something that I think people would count as a redeeming thing. As an example, for a very simple archetypical story that people really liked, Darth Vader.
Yeah.
He's redeemed. He's definitely not innocent of what he did.
Yeah.
That's a part of why people like the character.
Yeah, he like the way I always visualize his journey is it was on a pretty good track, then went very, very bad track, and at the very last, with the last decision he made, he took one step in the right direction. So you can imagine, okay, if you had lived, you would have been good, which means at the last second you made the right choice. I guess that's the morally grey part. That's the nuance involved, as opposed to just villain bad.